Hi everybody, it's Michael Phoenixart, and it's been a long time. I've been working really hard at my own goals and accomplishments. And one of them now is to get back to doing these YouTube videos, more blogging. Been traveling a lot, been doing a lot of different things, just graduated from massage school. I'm just putting more things under my belt and gaining more knowledge as I go, and I hope that all of you too are on the same journey, and have many blessings for that. So one of the things I want to talk about today is mental fasting. If you don't know about fasting, there's lots of awesome information on the internet you can go look at, but traditionally fasting was seen as a way to atone the spirit and the body together. And when I mean spirit, I look at it from my traditional shamanic roots as the whole soul body, which sometimes is referred to as the aura, which is the three main bodies of astral, physical, and mental. Astral also being the emotional side of that. So fasting was a way to purify oneself and to help atone the structure together, and in some instances, in some shamanic lineages and other different esoteric ways, they would also use fasting to bring about like an ecstatic state, or basically a depleted state, so that you would be deprived and go into this in-between phase of reality. So there are those kind of things out there as well. I don't recommend those things. They're very dangerous, and without proper supervision, you could die. So I don't recommend those kind of things. It's interesting stuff to know about, where fasting came from and how it's been used. Traditionally these days, we just do it for health reasons, as a detox to like restart our healthy routines and stuff, which is great, but and then other times people see it as like a really intense thing that has to be done, fasting for like several days of food, and I also don't recommend that. There's really good ways, raw food diets and other ways to cleanse your dietary issues without going into all of the dangerous stuff. So what I propose here is, if you know about fasting, then this will be easy for you. If you don't, then do a little bit of research on it as well. It's good to check out the Greek philosophies and the Egyptian ways, as well as ancient shamanic ways of doing it, from the Germanic shamanic lineages, the Mongolian, and the Western American Indians, as well as the Vedics. There's lots of good stuff about Vedic fasting. So there's a lot of information out there. If you don't know, check it out. But in general, fasting means to abstain from certain things to bring a certain amount of purity to the body. So physically fasting physically purifies the body in ways. It is really good and beneficial for you. I do recommend trying some fasts, and doing it every so often, like every other month or every couple of months, however you feel. And it helps reset the body's clock and the chemistry and the chemicals and hormones that work with the body too. And since we're bombarded by so many toxins outside, and we also get a lot from our food, it's good to reset that, cleanse, purify. So detoxes are great. A lot of people do detox teas and things like that. That in itself won't really give you the main benefit. And then there's bland food diets and raw food diets and other things like that. So there's a lot of good things out there to experiment with, but again, I do caution you, consult some people who may know, some kind of health professional in your area. Usually I don't mean a doctor, I mean a nutritionist or someone who may be able to guide you if you have any issues. So what I want to talk about today is mental fasting. Mental fasting is on the same principles, except you're going to do it with your mind. with your thoughts, with the things you consume mentally. And I think that we often put off the thought that we're ingesting things continuously through our eyes, through our ears, not just through our mouth, and through our nose as well. But auditorily and visually are the things that I'm talking about when I talk about mentally. Now, there's many medical reports out there on how we are a species that our mind can control our chemicals and our hormones and other things in the body. Scientifically, we are built that way. There's lots of studies on that out there. Now, having said that, the majority of human beings on this planet to date cannot do this efficiently, or even know that it's there. They live their life by default. Chemicals just go as they naturally go, and most people don't know that they can control these things through stuff like breathing, also known as pranayama, meditation, certain fasting. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Breathing is a big one. Mental fasting has a great power to it. With the invention of social media and computers and all these devices where we're bombarded by information and things that we sometimes don't even choose to ingest. We just ingest them because they're there in the moment, billboards, other things like that. And so these things get into the mind, and one thing I know studying hypnotherapy for a long time is that a lot of things get into the subconscious mind that you don't even know. And one of my teachers had said something very interestingly enlightening to myself, which was that you are bombarded by information from more than just your 5 physical senses every day, every minute, every second. And that the subconscious mind knows every leaf that you've seen on every tree you've ever seen. And it can tell you the color and how many there was. That is an incredible and astounding thought. That the subconscious mind categorizes everything and knows all that information. At the same time saying that, look at all the stuff you're bombarded by every day that you care not to be bombarded with. So, therefore, mental fasting is a concept that I believe I've came up with. I don't know if anyone else has coined that phrase or talked about it in this way. So right now, I guess I'm the only one. But it's been talked about before, I'm sure, in other ways. So here we are talking about mental fasting in this concept of abstaining from things. So this would be abstaining from looking at Instagram every 10 minutes or being on Facebook every 20 minutes. Abstaining from watching certain kinds of movies or reading certain kinds of things. We all have our desires in those fields as well as everything else in our life. If anything, the advent of technology has just made it easier for us to have more desires in more ways. It hasn't made it any easier for us to actually get rid of those. So coming back to a species that we're supposed to be able to control our body through our mind, which there's some miraculous things out there like Louise Hayes, who has cured herself of her own cancer through just affirmations in her mind. And there's lots of other studies out there like that, and lots of incredible things from China and from the gurus in India and the yogis in India. So there's a lot of amazing things out there about how the mind can control the body, but we're predominantly a species now that is controlled by our body. Our emotions, per se, can wreak havoc on our mind and make us do crazy things and not be able to focus. And I'm sure most everybody has had a relationship or some kind of personal relationship with someone else where, like, it just bothered them so much emotionally that they couldn't function at work or function at school or function around people socially. So it just goes to say how powerful the emotions and the body can be on the mind when it's supposed to be the other way around. So I propose mental fasting as a way to get back in touch with that, which means, doesn't mean you have to give up everything, but it means set some good, strict guidelines on what it is you will not be doing. That doesn't mean you have to not look at Facebook, but that means that you're not going to be looking at pictures of, people in their bathing suits, or looking at videos of car crashes, or other things of that sort that bring up really intense emotional content. So this means bringing it down to a very dull roar where it's all very calm and pleasant, so that it will keep the mind very calm and pleasant. Because all those things do have a very psychological effect. An interesting scientific thing that I learned in school was that the eyes cannot tell the difference when it's connected to the brain of what it's seeing and what it's actually experiencing. So when you watch things, when you see things, your brain can't tell the difference between if you're actually experiencing it or if you're just observing it. It's a very interesting concept. So all these things that I've talked about so far say a lot for why mental fasting would be beneficial. It would keep a lot of outside chatter. It would still the mind. It would increase emotional calmness. It would increase concentration. And it would also give you probably a lot of spare time to do other things that you may be inspired to do that you haven't been doing because you get too caught up in Facebook every couple of seconds. We're all guilty of that. Nobody is pointing any fingers here. So it happens to everybody in this society and culture, and I propose mental fasting as a way to reset yourself, reset your priorities, reset your emotions, reset your mind so that you may be smarter than the average bear and able to use your will to do things now that you've been inspired to do that you've wasted time on the internet or on your social device. So again, I'm not demonizing any of these things. I'm just pointing out where there may be faults and how mental fasting may be able to benefit you. So I myself am going to take this journey, and I invite everyone else to take this journey. And again, it's not a very strict, rigorous thing. You set your own parameters, but understand that you're trying to help yourself. So don't be too loose with your parameters. Set a good thing, a good set of parameters for you that will help decrease the chatter, increase emotional and mental calmness, which will also help you increase awareness of the body and its health. There's something that I read a long time ago that said, even if you're incredibly physically healthy, if your emotions aren't healthy, that means you're not healthy. You can't have one and think that you have the other. If you're emotionally healthy but you're not physically healthy, then you are not healthy in that aspect either. There's this thing called homeostasis where the body consistently tries to find its balance. Well, the soul body is doing the same thing, and it's working in conjunction with the physical body. The mental, the emotional, and physical are all one. There's no separation. They bleed into each other. And so when one is out of balance, so are the rest. And that's why dis-ease moves down through the soul body and into the physical body. So this is a way that I present that maybe you can get that back on track. In my office, I see a lot of people who have emotional issues going on or emotional traumas that they need help with through shamanic means. Or they just may have some mental things going on that they just can't get past. And I find that these things are all very integrated. The same people might have some physical ailments, or the same people might have mental ailments because of emotional things. So all of these things work together, and even psychology talks about this in different ways. So mental fasting. I invite you to try it with me. I'm going to attempt it for a week and see how that works for me. For you, maybe a couple days. So I wish you many blessings on your journeys in life and in spirit, and I hope that you always find your ways to peaceful, loving, and joyful means every day.